Hi, everybody. You've just seen the world premiere of the all-new live-action film produced by Blue Ribbon Content and Blondie Girl Productions, Daphne and Velma. And you are the very first audience to see the film. So, from your reaction, it sounds like everybody liked it. Hopefully enough to, on May 22nd, when it comes to Blu-ray and DVD, grab it from Warner Brothers Home Entertainment and let everybody know to hashtag Daphne Velma. So we got a terrific panel for you guys. Let's get right to it. I'm going to introduce our panelists. First, only 4 of you guys get really nice chairs and 2 of you get stuck in those little metal chairs. I'm sorry about that. The Executive Vice President of Alternative Programming for Warner Brothers Animation and Blue Ribbon Content, Peter Girardi. You come up first, you get a nice chair.
No, I'm not talent. I'm taking the crummy chair. That's one over. One more.
The Vice President of Development.
Oh, okay.
The Vice President of Development and Production for Blue Ribbon Content, Alex Davis. The Executive Producer and Co-Head of Blondie Girl Productions, Jennifer Tisdale. The Producer and Director of Daphne and Velma, Susie Unessi. And you know her from ABC's Last Man Standing, and now is our Velma, Sarah Gilman. All right, everybody comfy?
It's like my race car.
So our first question is for our filmmakers. Over the past 49 years, Scooby-Doo's had so many different takes, versions of animated films, live-action films, television series. What was your vision for this new take on the Scooby-Doo franchise? Who'd like to take that?
So.
Oh, all right. I see you're all looking at me, probably. So, well, I've been involved in a lot of versions of Scooby through the years, animated. We did one that was puppets. You know, so there's core things to Scooby. There's 4 things that we always talk about: food, flashlights, fear, and fun. So all of those could be there. One of those could be there. So that, you know, those are the things that are core about it that we try to hold on to. And, you know, some of those we use in this, but it's really about that friendship that is the most important thing. And sometimes a talking dog, not in this case, but that's one of the things that we really wanted to concentrate on.
Awesome. Was there ever consideration to include Scooby in the film? And at what point did you eliminate that?
No. No, we wanted this movie to be about Daphne and Velma. I think historically they've been stereotypical young women in the cartoons, and we really wanted to give them their own movie where they could be the heroes of their own journey. So we didn't want to distract from them or that friendship, so no dog.
But also, if you watch all of these old episodes from the 70s, it's really Velma and Daphne who solve it in the end. So I think it's appropriate that it's a live-action movie about these girls and rounding them out and showing who's the other half of the heart of this franchise.
Right on. Jennifer, what made the girl-centric Scooby-Doo prequel the right project for Blondie Girl Productions?
Well, Ashley and I really created Blondie Girl to make strong female content. It is our whole mission as a company. Our brand is Smart Female Millennial, and when you think about who are strong female characters that we all know and love, I mean, Daphne and Velma completely are one of the first people that come to mind. So being able to really give them their own story and show them in a way that we haven't fully seen them before is really just everything that we do as a company. So we're so happy that we got the opportunity to show you guys this.
So kind of on the same note, for Peter and Alex, how does this film fulfill the mission of Blue Ribbon Content?
Well, Blue Ribbon is meant to do projects with, a lot of it is with our IP that we have at Warner Brothers and how to translate that into a younger audience, into new forms of distribution, into new platforms, digital. You know, this is a more of an indie kind of model. So it was important for that reason, but also to evolve the franchises that we have. You know, I mean, this is a new way to look at these characters. It's a new way to interact with the characters, and that's very important as well.
And also to break out of the traditional POV of male-dominated entertainment. I'm just going to say it. It was really important for us to focus on female characters.
Why'd you look at me when you said it?
Because you're the only man up here.
And just, it was an opportunity to really change that perspective and bring a more female POV, both in terms of the lead characters, but also our filmmakers who were all women. And that's something we're really proud of.
Right on. Yeah. And what else might we see coming from Blue Ribbon?
What more? I don't know if you guys know Critters, the
Yeah.
yeah. So we're working on a Critters movie right now. What else, Alex? We have just finished a project called Good Girls Get High, which we did with Alloy. That's a full live-action feature as well, which is great. So it's a lot of different projects, both, you know, again, in the original and also kind of reimagining, which is a very Hollywood thing to say, but reimagining kind of these franchises in new ways, contemporary ways.
That's awesome. I'm looking forward to Critters. Jennifer, do you think the Tisdale experience with Disney and such gave you and Ashley special insight into creating content for a young and tween girl audience?
It's funny. Disney is amazing. We had such a great experience. I think for us as a company and as individuals, what gives us insight to what our fellow females want is I think we're very in touch with our fans and friends on social media. We're paying attention to what they're watching, what they're listening to, which is really important to us. I also have an 8-year-old daughter, and I think it's really important to be creating content that she's going to be able to like see herself in and look up to and be excited about. So I think our experience, yes, helps us a ton, but it's not just our experience that makes us good at what we do. It's listening to all of you and listening to what you want is really, I think, what helps us understand and make good content.
Awesome. I have a 6-year-old. I want to show this too.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Good.
So for Susie, in terms of this film, there's an old adage of never work with kids and dogs. You didn't have to worry about the dog this time, but how was it working with this group of kids?
This group of kids.
I'm 22 years.
22-year-old child.
You never say your age.
Do you use face cream?
Anyway, so it was amazing. I had such a great cast. Sarah Gilman, Sarah Jeffrey, they brought such heart to these characters and really rounded them out. And Arda Miran, who plays Piper, Vanessa Morano, plays Carol, all of them I feel like really embodied these characters and brought them to life and made them three-dimensional characters. And as a director, I love leaving room for play and leaving room for improv, and I think because of that and even letting Sarah Gilman run with Velma as a character, a lot of things showed up on screen that weren't in the script, like Velma losing her glasses was completely the genius of Sarah Gilman, where we allowed some room for play, or even the meddling kids line was improv. So I think being surrounded by these incredible kids in their 20s really was an exceptional, amazing experience.
Sarah, then, how did you go about creating a character with such a long-established persona, but still kind of make Velma your own?
Yeah, it was actually really scary because I have definitely been on the other side of it where my favorite franchises have been made into live-action movies, and I absolutely disliked the characters.
Ooh, now you gotta say what it is.
I'm not going to do Peter.
Oh,
I would
pretend
never.
nobody's here.
I probably know what it is.
So definitely some research was done and watching, which was, so difficult because the cartoon, and I love the cartoon. It's part of my DNA, just growing up watching that. So kind of rewatching that and getting to know Velma better. And then Susie was really amazing, and Jen too, and talking with me about what they imagined it and what I imagined and how we could kind of put all those visions together and kind of make this new Velma a little bit more fleshed out, and I really wanted to bring a lot of sarcasm to her and make her kind of sassy, a lot of deadpan, dry wit, and so it was kind of like this new Velma, which I hope you love, is kind of a new mixture of the couple of visions, really, not just my own.
Now you get to put Peter on the spot a little bit the way he just did to you. Were you given any instructions on things you could or couldn't do with Velma?
Did I?
No. Sarah, this is for Sarah.
Oh, me.
Were you given instructions?
No, actually, it was kind of in the beginning. I'm sure if I had done something bad, they would have told me, but I was pretty much given kind of free reign. I think, I can't speak for anyone, but I think, you know, there was no like jinkies in the original script. There was no where's my glasses. You know, it was almost a fight that Jen and I kind of took on to get her in the original orange sweater. It seemed like, if anything, we were afraid of getting too close to the original Velma in like fear that maybe if we got too close, then people would think it was just a remake, because it wasn't. It's like a new version that we wanted you guys to see, and I think that the fear was if we went and did too many copycats, then it wouldn't look like that. But I think it was important to have some allusions to the original and kind of show you that yes, they're different, but yes, it is the same Velma that we all know and love. So they kind of they trusted me. Yeah, they trusted me with her, and that was really nice.
Yeah, Blue Ribbon content was amazing with how much creative license they gave us in the performances and characterization, because I think going into it, we were all on the same page, so it opened up a lot of room on set for play and for improv, and that was because of the studio being so clear with what the vision was for the material.
That's awesome. I think you guys did a fantastic job of nods to the original mixed in with really making it new.
Yeah, because there's the version of Velma that could just be the nerd, but that, to me, Velma, if you look at the 70s cartoons and the early 80s, she's an outsider. She's an outsider and has a strong perspective. She's smart, but she doesn't need to be, I feel like playing a nerd is not an active thing that you can do. But playing someone who's deeply steeped in logic and follows their mind, while Daphne is someone who follows her heart, creates something interesting for the actors to follow and riff on.
And the original Velma is also really sassy if you look back. Like, does anyone remember that like meme or that GIF, I don't know, GIF, it's a GIF, where she's like sitting there and someone like tries to scare them and she goes, "You stop that." That was like the inspiration for this Velma. That is it. That is mic drop.
That's fantastic. I guess a question for all our panelists. Do you have any personal history? I kind of know the answer with the Scooby-Doo franchise, but if you can kind of say what that was and how did that affect your input into this film? This is for everybody.
I definitely personally grew up with it, so it was really important for me to figure out visually how to do a live action translation of it, and using a lot of tropes from the cartoon and bringing those to life, whether it was like the running against a background that doesn't change. That's why we have them running in those circles, because that's something from my childhood constantly seeing. Or the scene that's the shadow art was initially a volleyball scene that we then did so it was like, this is crazy production-wise for our budget, but also what's true to the original material. And I feel like a lot of shadow play is something that's in the series that's visually dynamic. So for me as a filmmaker to have the opportunity to bring something that was so much part of my childhood and what taught me about storytelling to life allowed, I think, for what this version of, it's interesting because this version is a very innovative take on it, but also it takes what we grew up with and does a live action version, whether it's like the eyes in the dark popping open, something we've never seen translated to live action until this version of the film.
Yeah, I mean, I watched Scooby-Doo growing up on Cartoon Network every week. I don't know if anybody else here remembered when they started coming out with all the versions of the Scooby snacks for like humans, and like I tried the human ones. And
They
I
didn't
was
make
like,
any ones for humans.
Interesting. No, they had the gummies, and they also had the dog. I'm not gonna lie. I tried the dog snacks. Okay, sue me. You know, they were not bad. If my dog can eat them, so can I. Okay.
You know what gerbil tastes like?
Okay.
Circle back to the movie.
We're already making callbacks, all right. But yeah, no, Scooby-Doo, and I bought the video games. Like I memorized the theme song. It's a whole thing, guys. Just calm down. It's a normal day.
I think what's really great about this film is I think we all really had a love for the Scooby franchise. And I think it was important, especially when finding the girls to play Daphne and Velma, that they had a love for the franchise. Like,
Yeah.
acting is acting, yes, but like, for them to have an appreciation of the content and where, you know, the characters came from really just made it so much more amazing on set. For us all to share this like love of this franchise and really find all the ways to like make it shine.
Ditto to all of that.
Well, like I said, I've made a lot of versions of Scooby through the years. We did a show called Mystery Incorporated. We did a lot of different movies. We did a movie with Kiss. We did a movie with the WWE. Like, there's been a lot of permutations of the Scooby franchise. It's elastic if you keep to what's core about it. And I mean, I was able to introduce it. I have twin 7-year-old daughters, and I was able to introduce it to them, both in the animated series we've done, this movie as well. Susie did such an amazing job of translating it. So it's been great to see it through their eyes again. And Hanna-Barbera did a lot of versions of Scooby. Not only Scooby, they did Jabberjaw, they did the Clue Club, they did Goober and the Ghost Chasers, they did the Funky Phantom. I can go on and on and on. None of it was the lightning in the bottle that Scooby is. And Scooby's been on the air in one form or another since 1969. So it has magic to it, except for that weird left turn with Scrappy. Sorry, we don't like to talk about Scrappy.
Oh, there was a Scrappy fan.
Okay. The word crappy is in Scrappy. That's all I'm saying. Sorry, everybody.
So I guess he's not going to be in the sequel.
No, he will be.
No.
He'll be in the sequel.
Scrappy wasn't so bad as a child. But yeah.
No, it's great.
Sarah, please tell us about your chemistry on the set with the cast, and especially with your BFF Daphne, Sarah Jeffrey.
So Sarah, Jeffrey, and I knew of each other before the movie even started. We both have been on Disney, and so we have a lot of similar friends from Disney Channel. So as soon as I heard she was cast, I immediately, you know, like the high schooler in spirit that I am, went to all my friends and was like, what do you think of Sarah Jeffrey? Like, what is she like? And they were all like, oh my God, she's amazing. Like, you're gonna have such a good time. So we actually ran into each other for the first time at the airport when we got to Georgia, where we filmed the movie. And it was like a Step Brothers moment. It was like, oh my God, do we just become best friends? And we were like, yeah, we did. And they were like, let's go to the baggage claim together. Oh my God, I was going to the baggage claim. Let's go to the baggage claim, yeah. And then the next, like, literally 4 weeks were just like everything. If we weren't sleeping or we played video games together too. We were eating together, we were filming together, we carpooled together with Jen. Like, we were probably together almost, how many hours during the day? 24? Just how many, but how many do you sleep? Okay, just imagine like 70% of the time of not sleeping, we were together. And we're not sleeping each other yet. So I love Sarah, she's so great. And everybody on the cast was so great. Frey and Daniel, and Evan, who play the 3 football players, and Griffin, were amazing. Frey does stand-up comedy, so we were all trying to get to his show, and it's just like a lot of the connections that I made on set, I think, are definitely going to stay around for a long time.
That's
I
great.
feel like even bringing them up, it's interesting because they could have been two-dimensional characters like the Meathead, but instead, the writers did such an amazing job rounding out everyone, so everyone was playing against what was on the page, which creates nuance in performance. And they were like locals who were so lucky to work with, because they also, like, the improv that they did, like, burn. It was just like so spot on with even like when I saw Frey, I think about Shaggy and that sort of like vibe of humor that I feel like he used a little of in his performance.
You probably already touched on some of these, but were there any other Easter eggs hidden in the film that we may or may not have noticed?
Well, there's the eyes in the painting, right? Which was a super creepy version of eyes in a painting, since again, it was live action. There, what other things? God, we had so many. There was the shadows, which like, we had the shadows on the wall that like suddenly grew bigger as they walked towards the camera. So I think, and even in the palette of like the spooky back area, we specifically used the original palette of like the oranges and blues and greens of the original animated series. Yeah, I feel like if you watch it again, which I encourage you to, that each
On May
viewing,
22nd.
Yeah, on each. I think it's
Nice
the kind
Blu-ray.
of, yeah, the kind of film that on each viewing you're gonna see more and more that's riffing back to like something from the original series.
For all our filmmakers, are there any thoughts on doing a Fred and Shaggy or Shaggy and Scooby or All Boy prequel in the same vein as this? Sans Scrappy, I guess.
Oh, scrappy. Not yet, but who knows? I
It's
mean,
the girls' time.
yeah.
Can you just give us this?
This is the year
Let's
of
just
the
have
woman, I would say. 2018. It's very appropriate for this year, this material.
What was your favorite scene for everybody?
I love the scenes that Susie was talking about. I mean, having her figure out a way to translate some of the stuff that is usually an animated trope into live action was satisfying for me.
I love the conflict.
I know, Susie and I both
resolution
love
chair.
the
Yeah, because
conflict.
that was like crazy, and it was scripted as 2 beanbags, and it was like conflict resolution couch. And I remember it was 6 pages of dialogue. We were like, well, it's them sitting in beanbags for 6 pages. You've set up in like what the writers wrote of conflict resolution couch. How do we bring that to life? And the first time I met with the 2 Sarahs, I was like, I think we should do this thing with the couch coming to life and the blocking, and that was the first thing we rehearsed, and they just like, I have this video of them like smashing their heads together at some point, and I was like, oh, if we have the chair fall back, and I just feel like it was a moment of like, all those are cubes, and someone on the side with a piece of plastic pulling the cubes together. But when you see it edited, it's like such an innovative, it has the physical comedy of Scooby-Doo and how they do the blocking, but it's like a very modern interpretation. So that for me is such a powerful moment in terms of story, blocking, just all of the elements of film that I love, even score, that just comes together in a really beautiful way. What's your favorite scene?
Probably the fight scene against the spiders.
That was all, I mean, she was acting against nothing.
So let me just break this down for you guys. What happened? It was like the last day of shooting. We're on a night shoot, so it's probably like 3 a.m. I'm getting delirious because I haven't had enough coffee. And we get to this fight scene, and I thought we were gonna have actual smoke, and so I'd be like at least semi-hidden as I make an ass out of myself. And Susie's like, no, it's all VFX, just like go for it. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And she was like, yeah, just like you got this. And I was like, okay, so we do like 10 takes of this, and I am really not expecting this cardio at 3 a.m.
Legit 30 minutes of this.
Just so much running and jumping. I have never done martial arts or any sort of kickboxing, anything. And just watch the blooper reel when you get it, okay? Just watch the blooper reel.
Which is going to be on the DVD on May 27th.
But Sarah G, she's such a, like, what she's not saying is she was there like, put me in, coach. I got it, don't worry. And she's like, put me in, and I was like, okay, I need like a slide kick. She's like, I got it. Like for every single thing, I was like, what if we do? She's like, I got it. Like, I got it. And like, I mean, we probably did 1 too many takes of that just because it was so thrilling each time she would do it, how she would come up with new moves with no stunt. That was all choreography from the imagination of Sarah Gilman. So.
I can say something. Yes. My favorite scene was also the conflict couch, because that's the moment you see the girls finally come together and really their friendship warms and they go on their journey. But from script phase, I think this is credit to Caitlin and Kyle, our writers. My favorite scene is a tiny scene that I hope you all enjoyed, when the boys are talking about wanting to be each other's dads. I think it's so beautiful.
One last question, and before I ask this, although you guys might have answered it, everybody, we're going to start taking questions from the audience. If you want to line up at the human mic stand right here, and we'll start taking questions from the audience right after this. So please feel free to walk up to the mic. So the last question I prepared is, what was the trickiest scene to film and why? And God help you if it was the scene you just described in detail.
It was that conflict resolution couch, because even the actors thought it was crazy. I was like, no, trust me, guys, it's gonna look great. And like, but they're like sitting there having to act against like the special effects guys off screen. And he was like, I put marks in his script for him. I was like, okay, hit it here, here, here. And he's like, I can't read that, Suze. Just hit me. So I had to like be on set hitting him. I was like, now you pull it, pull it. Like, so it was just, it was one of those, it was so crazy because like no one, it was all like,
Yeah, everyone thought Susie was crazy. Like really, like Sarah and I were like, you know what, if you believe in it, Susie, like we'll do it, like we'll do anything for you. But like, there were moments on set when we were just like, this is gonna look very interesting.
right. And then also in their performance, because as actors, you're like in the moment, so they're in the heat of a conflict, so you could feel also as like actors that they were like, okay, like Sarah Jeffers, like, what, fine, I'll do that, fine. Like, you know, so everyone's in that headspace already where they're like in like at odds and not, you know, like,
Yeah.
And so then on top of that to have to be pushing plastic bricks at them, it's like, it was a very challenging
I was never
scene.
worried about that scene.
Yeah.
I knew it was going to be okay. For me, I think the scene was the science room fight with the explosion because we had one chance to get that explosion. And you know, like things happen, someone doesn't turn their camera on, like someone's not rolling. And so that was the scariest thing for me, was like that room was hot, people were tired, it was end of day, it was last shot, and it was like, we get this or we don't, and that's cool.
That's all real pyrotechnics and destruction? Like,
Yes.
no effects? Oh, I guess.
And a lot of cleaning up afterwards.
Alex, you were on set. What did you feel like that first period when you were on set seemed like the hardest?
It was all wonderful and went very smoothly.
Good job, Alex.
May 22nd.
All right, let's open up to the audience, sir. Before you ask your question, please state your name. For at the end of this, we're giving away autograph posters that I would show. They exist. They're in the room. Autographed by the whole cast, mounted somehow, and I'm told they're beautiful. So for the best questions. So please state your name clearly and ask your question.
My name is Randy, and first I wanted to say you played an awesome Velma. You did so good, and you guys all did a great job. I also want to say when we were talking about references, I heard the I love dogs in the elevator, so I liked that. That was at least a little shout out to Scooby. I got him tattooed on my arm, so I'm a huge, huge Scooby fan. But I
Nice.
also...
Warner Brothers legal team will be talking to you right after this.
I'll be out of here. I also wanted to give a little recommendation. It's probably too late to do this because the DVD is coming out so soon, but I know a lot of DVDs come with a little thing on the side. I was so entertained by that, I think it was Shameful Student sticker. If you can,
The shame stickers.
yes, if you can include one of those stickers with the initial DVD releases, that would be awesome. I would love it. But.
That was all like our editor's voice. All those robots and everything was our editor doing like, for shame.
It was hilarious.
I
That
don't
had me
even
cracking
think there
up
was
so
like,
much.
there wasn't as much scripted of like all those robots, but as we would sit in the edit room, we were like, Timothy Bott needs to talk even more. Like calling up my bad boy. So,
Well, that was it. So I just want to say, great job.
Thank
Great
you.
job.
We're so glad you love the sticker.
Hi guys, I'm Dorothy. I'm a big Last Man Standing fan. All the caffeine stuff. Okay, so I was wondering, how much of this was a mystery for you, Sarah? Like going through the mystery, how much were you in on it? Were you in on like the?
Oh yeah, no, I read the entire script before we started filming, so I knew the whole time.
Okay.
Yeah, so I knew it was Carol. Carol.
Wait, it
Velma
was Carol?
Velma deep down knows it's Carol too.
But yeah, this is true. That's true. So, but yes, I got to read the entire script.
Okay. Did you and Sarah kind of do that together? Were you kind of reading that together at the same time? Being like, ooh, this happened, like, you know,
Oh,
kinda...
I think it was sent to our representation first,
Okay.
so we read it separately. I think I read it on the plane for the first time. 'Cause
Did you?
once we were cast, or once I was cast, I'm not sure when Sarah was cast, but I was cast, and then flown out maybe 4 days later to start shooting. And so I was reading it on the plane, and then she had read it by the time we did it, and then we started reading it together in the hotel room, just all the scenes that we had to do. So we did get that like group experience of like, wait, that was a really funny joke, let's make sure we get that in there, or something like that, but we read it separately first.
That's awesome. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Hi, I'm Madison, and I really love the for shame little bot thing. And I was wondering, how did you like, well, I guess I was going to ask, like, how did you come up with a little for shame thing? But also I want to know what kind of, like, how do you get all the new technology and all that? Like, how do you think of those?
Well, I think the studio's mandate was like technology. Let's update it, have technology in, and the for shame thing. It was scripted as the shame drone, and it was kind of like the conflict resolution couch, where there's something really funny on the page, and just the voice of for shame seemed like it could be such a funny thing. And then the fortunate thing is that Peter, because shooting with a drone is insane. It's like a drone is very loud, it's hard to control. So at some point we had it in, we got one take with it, and it just wasn't working. And Peter was the one who really pushed to keep the drone in for that whole scene. And we were very fortunate because it is so special and funny. And like even at the beginning, it was always scripted as like it starts on the drone and tilts down, but then we added the voice of like, hey Velma, turn that frown upside down. So a lot of those things were in post. We had a great editor, Christina Davies, and we would just like sit and riff. And when you're surrounded by creatives who are great storytellers, then I feel like the material keeps getting better in, you know, as you're sitting with it and you're trying, like with me and Christina, the editor, we're trying to make each other laugh, coming up with ridiculous things that these different bots would say.
I think it's also really important to like piggyback and mention that our writers, Caitlin and Kyle, did an amazing job of creating the tech that we brought to life. Like they had an idea of, you know, the food 3D printer, like they wrote all these things into the script, and then we got to figure out how to like make it a reality. But they were amazing with like the creativity of tech that they brought to the script.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Danielle. We met a little earlier. Now that I've seen it, I'm going to put you on the spot, mostly for Sarah, but could be for everyone. If you had to kill your robot child to, you know, solve a mystery in real life, would you do it?
She would for sure do it.
You can clone a robot child these days.
But the beautiful thing about that Max robot is actually it's a real robot that you can buy, and the company was so kind as to give us those robots because the purpose of them is for teaching kids how to work with robotics and but it is part of the like they read the script before and they were like, this is so perfect for us, because the point was to be able, you can destroy a Max robot and then rebuild it and put it back together. So it just was this kismet thing.
The actual kind of sadistic thing about it all was when we did it, you know, I never actually had to kill the robot, though I probably would in real life, which is, I guess, the original question. But when they brought me back on for ADR, which was automated dialogue recording, they had me test out to be the voice for the robot that I was killing. So I had to look at the screen and watch it and go, Velma, no, please, Velma. And then, you know, they didn't end up using me, but how twisted is that, Susie?
Well, we were thinking in the logic, we're like, well, she probably would have programmed it, but again, that ended up being our editor, Christina Davies, voice of all the computers. So.
Thanks.
If this one does well, is there a chance that you guys might make a sequel? And if so, is there a chance that we might see them driving a version of the Mystery Machine?
Yes, there are plans to keep going with the sequel. And thank you. I think, you know, as we move forward, yeah, there'll be more opportunities to kind of have references to those kind of Scooby things that everybody loves about the show.
We're not gonna tell you what they are yet.
That's right. We're not.
Hi, I'm Velma.
Wait, is that, this is gonna sound rude, but is that your name?
It's an I instead of an E, but yeah.
That still counts. That's amazing. I
Wow.
love
Give
this.
her a poster.
Also, Warner Brothers attorneys will be contacting you soon.
Hi. I was wondering if there was ever anything that you wanted in the movie but you couldn't put it in it, or if there's anything you would have liked to have put into it.
I got everything in that I needed. We got Jinkies and the glasses in there. That's all I could have asked for.
No, there was like one shot, a wide shot of the crowd saying, "Pizza, pizza, pizza." Maybe that would be my one thing.
Hi, my name is Kenny. Also, you're not alone with having eaten the Scooby snacks, both the human and the dog ones. We totally got those for my dogs, and I was like, I wonder. And you're right, they're not horrible. But I'm kind of the science nerd that was really obsessed with Scooby-Doo. How did you guys do the explosion from the lab? Like the goo explosion?
Oh, the goo explosion was, so we have a special effects person, Skip, who was on set and had like a pipe that he had like with air and like all of the goop inside of it. So, but again, as Jen said, we have one shot with it because once the thing explodes and there's goop all over, production design can't clean up the whole science place. So.
All over.
Yeah. So that was special effects thing and props creating like this goo, purple goo with the gelatin.
Yeah, he had like a high pressure tank connected to the tube, right? And then when you guys wanted the explosion to go off, he would crank it and the air would blast through and make the goop pump out.
Yeah, I think we had a couple with an empty balloon and then finally we did the real thing.
Thanks.
Hi, my name's April. So I was really interested in all the costumes. Like, I thought that was really cool, like, how it sort of mirrored what you would see in like the 70s and all that. I thought, like, how did you go about choosing what the costumes were and what the process was?
Well, we had this amazing costume designer, Kara San, who also does the Descendant series, and we were really fortunate to work with her to modernize it. And coming into it, I think for Velma, I wanted her style icon to be Tavi Gevinson, who her style is steeped in like vintage and retro, and that felt true to the Velma of the cartoon. So that's the direction that we went in, and I had like a mood board of images that I had come together, like that I built, and then she took that vision and ran with it. And then for Daphne, it was like a more fashionable, contemporary. She has more money, comes from that background. So that's how, I think with her, we went with more of a like mod vibe to her clothing, but it was coming up with a board that then Kara San like used her magic. And then I think for the studio, they had a test with every outfit where you had to like see purple, like, you know.
I think it was also really important to know that, like, for us, we didn't want it to be so trendy that when you watched the movie, you're like, oh my God, that was totally 2017, guys. I think it was important for us to try to bring a timelessness to what everyone was wearing so that when you watch it 7 years from now, you're not going to be like, oh my God, that movie was from 7 years ago. So I think that was like an underlying thing that we really just wanted to make sure that we like stayed true to the legacy of them, but also kind of allowed to live in this timeless world.
And they did a really great job of making sure that Sarah and I were also really comfortable in what we were wearing, not only like physically, but also emotionally. And, you know, Velma started out in a lot of heels and like heeled boots. Then we realized quick that like not only would Velma probably not wear like full-on heeled boots to school every day, but she also can't run in them. And by she, I mean me. And so that got fixed right quick.
Yeah, that's true.
Thank you.
Well, that's what I feel like costumes really sets the tone of a film, and for the cast to feel good in the costume and it really to be specific to character, it's really where you start to set the tone of the movie.
All right, so do we have one more question? We have time for one more?
Hi, I'm Caitlin. I think I just missed it, but when's this movie coming out again?
Yeah,
May
what?
22nd!
Oh, okay, thank you.
Nice.
Okay.
DVD, Blu-ray, and digital, guys.
All right, well, I even have it on my note here after I thank everybody to remember, so I'll start with it. Daphne and Velma will be available on May 22nd on Blu-ray and DVD
Yay.
from Warner Brothers Home Entertainment. Before I thank our panelists, if you asked a question, please come to the front to see Gary over there in the corner to collect your prize. All the questions were the best questions, so congratulations, everyone. Once again, thank you to our panelists.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And thank you guys all for coming. May 22nd, Daphne and Velma, Blu-ray.